Hey guys, welcome back to the Mental Health Comic Verse. Welcome if this is your first time. It's your girl, Poison Ivy. And today I want to talk about disconnection. Disconnection between other people, within yourself, spiritually, all of that stuff. I found people talking about the disconnection you feel when you have a spiritual awakening, when we level up, and that does happen. But there are so many other reasons why we feel disconnected. And I want to run through them all with you guys so that you can have a better understanding of why you're feeling disconnected, because sometimes you do and you just can't pinpoint what the reason really is, and just kind of a blueprint so you guys can use it as a way to self-reflect on yourself, because of course self-awareness is key. So I'm going to go over 3 categories: disconnection within yourself, disconnection with others, and disconnection with the universe, God, spiritual, however you want to call it. So number 1, let's talk about the disconnection within ourselves. And this is the most important out of the 3, because when you're disconnected within yourself, you are disconnected everywhere. You can be a very charming person, you can be a social butterfly, you can be the life of the party and still feel disconnected with people. You know what I mean? So don't get it twisted. Just because you see people being really out there and connecting with people, that doesn't mean that they're actually connecting with them, right? A lot of people don't see that because they have this persona of being charming that they've learned, that they've acquired. So what causes us to be disconnected within ourselves? There are so many reasons, you guys. It's different for everybody. Everything is always situational, circumstantial. It's different for every single person. Overall, it's our experiences, our environment that shapes our way of thinking and our confidence and our self-esteem. And who are we? What is our purpose? What do I want to do with my life? These are all things that contribute to our personal power and our individuality. And when we don't have that, we lose connection within ourselves. So for example, you can be faking confidence through ego and thinking that you're a confident person, but you actually have low self-esteem and your ego is backing you up. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. You may have low self-esteem or no confidence, but you could be telling yourself, oh, I do have confidence, because you have confidence through your ego, which is not the same as having confidence through self-love. Does that make sense? When you feel like you're in a situation where you have to prove yourself or not lose face, is it really confidence coming from self-love, or is it confidence coming from ego there to protect you a little bit? You know what I mean? So we can be putting on a facade and hiding our identity to fit in. And this can vary from very little things like changing yourself when you have a different audience, or something more extreme like you're actually hiding who you are. That can really make you retract and not want to be yourself, right? That's just one example. There are so many different reasons why we don't want to share who we really are with people in whatever scenario that is. Even at work, that's the one place that I say it's business, so they don't need to know who you are. You're just there to get your money. But when it interferes with you as a person and just who you are, it's a little different. If you feel like you have to suppress your personality or suppress who you are, that can really take a toll on you in the long run, and that can really cause a disconnect. Another thing I want to talk about, and this kind of relates to what I said about ego, is tricking ourselves with self-love. So we may think that we have self-love, but we actually don't. So let's say you're dating somebody and obviously they're saying,
I love you, blah, 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 all the good stuff.
but their actions do not show that. We all know actions speak louder than words. So do you have self-love if you're getting walked on, if you're getting disrespected, and you keep allowing it? And again, this is our ego stepping in to say, yes, I do have self-love because I stand up for myself. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you cuss somebody out or if you stood up for yourself, because when you really have self-love, you're not going to put yourself, remain in a situation that's killing you. That's an action that shows that you do not have self-love. And that's just one example. There are many forms not giving ourselves self-love and then thinking that we do have self-love, right? Even health. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you giving your body the proper nutrients? Making sure that you feel good and you feel energized? That's a form of self-love as well. It's not always about people treating you like shit. That's definitely one of the main things, but there are so many other forms. So we really have to be careful not to trick ourselves into thinking that we have confidence, that we have self-love, that we have all this good stuff when we're actually just hiding it through ego. The only thing that can really help us when we are disconnected within ourselves is to reflect and give ourselves love. Meditate. It'll definitely help you so much more when you start meditating. But even if you don't do that, if you're just reflecting, if you're giving yourself love and you're taking that time out to do those things, you will slowly come into connection within yourself again. There's a reason why people keep talking about self-love, you guys. It's like the base of everything in your life. I'll definitely be doing a video on self-love, but if you don't know where to start with this, start with not allowing others to disrespect you. Start with not allowing yourself to stay in situations that are constantly stressing you out and constantly making you unhappy. And if it's not that, then start with affirmations. Start with very simple things. Tell yourself that you're amazing, that you're beautiful. Do mirror work. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself these things. It will program you over time, even though it sounds dumb. All right, so moving on to our disconnection with others. So like I said, if you are disconnected with yourself, this is 100% going to affect your connection with others, no matter what you think. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have an actual connection with somebody, but even if you do, your disconnect within yourself is going to cause issues. And this can show in various different ways. It's different for everybody. You can be paranoid, you can be overthinking, you can be deflecting, you can kind of have a little bit of a barrier. There's always something holding you back from experiencing the potential of how amazing your relationships with everyone, your family, your friends, your romantic relationships, when you are disconnected with yourself. So refer to number one and work on number one, your connection with self, before you try to figure out where the disconnect is with others, because you're skipping an important step. And when you skip that step, that's when you start deflecting. And we do not want that here. So the most common disconnection that people have been talking about is when you level up, when you go through a spiritual awakening. This is very much true because you're on a different level. You think differently, you want different things, you don't care about the things that you did before maybe. And some people will understand and meet you up there, but some people won't. And yes, it does cause a disconnect, but that doesn't mean that you still can't find a connection with that person, even if they're not going through the same journey as you, or the same process, or the same way of thinking. Because it doesn't mean you've suddenly become better than this person. You're just experiencing a different journey. And sometimes they understand it and sometimes they don't. And I feel like that's really where the disconnect comes in, because some people don't want to hear it. You know, they see you level up and they either are not interested in it, or they may be jealous of it. I don't know. There's always different reasons, but you don't always have to fall out with people who don't level up in the same way as you do. And we have to remember that our journey is our journey. We can't expect the people that were around to experience the same journey and to follow us. You know what I mean? They have their own life and their own journey, and maybe they'll meet you in the same headspace that you're in one day. But just because you're not right now, it doesn't mean that you have to cut them off. As long as you have love there, and as long as there's a mutual respect and you guys are still having fun and still have trust and all that good stuff, then you can still have that connect. So another reason why we disconnect is because of isolation. And I don't just mean being in prison or house arrest. I mean, this refers to introverts. This refers to just being in your own bubble, or maybe you're just a major homebody, right? But when you cut yourself off from everyday interaction in a major way, or you're just, inside all the time, then you don't really know how to interact with people sometimes when that happens. So that can cause a major disconnect as well. And nothing can really fix that except just doing it. Just going out there, talking to people, being more open to interactions, whatever it may be. So next we have our experiences. And this actually kind of relates to being an introvert as well, because if you have gone into a shell because for whatever reason, it's hard to just go out there and talk to people and be open. It's not as easy as it sounds, right? Because you have become introverted through experience for some specific reason. So in that case, you have to reflect and get to the core of what's making you so anxious and what's making you hold yourself back. And that's what you have to get to the bottom of if you're really isolating yourself. Experiences is a huge one, you guys, because it can really shape our interaction with people before we even go into the situation, because we have a biased opinion based off what has already happened. right? So if you come from a cultural background and in your cultural background, you've always been suppressed, the people have always been catty, the people have always been a certain way towards you, then that group of people, you are always going to have a negative outlook on them before you even have an encounter with them. Same thing with heartbreak, right? If you keep getting your heart broken over and over again, finally to the point where you're just broken and beaten, or you feel that way, then it's going to be much harder for you to have a connection with the next guy or girl. So next is jealousy and competition. And Wonder Woman did a video on this, which I will link somewhere here, and you guys can check that out. But jealousy and competition causes a huge disconnect. And of course, there is healthy competition. And sometimes we don't see it that way. We don't see it as jealous, competitive, and bitter. It's hard to actually admit that, admit it to yourself, admit it to others. So like I said, you guys, you have to self-reflect and really be honest with yourself and think, am I being jealous right now? Is this necessary? Where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? So next is feeling different. And this can be many different things, you guys. If you have anything that causes you to feel like I'm not the same, I'm different, I'm whatever, and that causes you to kind of push back, that's going to cause a disconnect with others as well. Just remember, you guys, the amazing thing about being different is that's what's meant to set us apart, and that's what's meant to make us shine. Beyond fear is where all the amazing, great things lie. When you are scared to be different, when you're scared that people are going to be like towards you or your personality, whatever it is, beyond that fear is where all the great things lie, because that's when you can just not give a fuck and be yourself and have fun and live your damn life. So let's do it, you guys. You're amazing. You're unique. You are put here on this earth to shine the way you are. So don't hold back for anybody. You don't need to. That's what's going to set you apart and make you you. So the next thing I want to talk about is our screen time. Our screen time on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all these things. We definitely feel very connected when we're online, I think. But there's a huge disconnect sometimes when you go from online to in person. And there are a lot of people who are very comfortable, who are very expressive online, but they're not the same way in person. And the best example of this are YouTubers, because there are so many YouTubers who talk about how you don't have time for a life. You're actually just recording and filming and editing and thinking of the next thing, and you kind of start to become introverted by accident almost. And it's important to have that balance when you're doing that. And I'm not even just talking about YouTube, just being interactive online versus in person. So the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to our disconnection with others is our communication style. It's very important, and we don't really talk about it. Your way of communicating may not be that other person's way of communicating, and that can cause a disconnect. So to give you guys a very specific example, even if it's truthful, it's like there's certain things that you can hold back in an argument that doesn't help the argument or help make your point. It's just kind of you're reacting out of emotion, right? And react and just say things without thinking very bluntly. It's my Sagittarius nature. So I take the precaution to text people when I'm angry. And not everyone knows that. So when I had an angry discussion with somebody, I said, just text me. And I actually did tell them, text me and this is why. And they responded with, that's very childish, that's very... I'm telling you, this is my way of communicating right now because I don't want to lose my damn shit on you and you're calling me childish, which is just going to make the situation much, much worse. So you need to be aware of communication style, and you need to be understanding that not everyone is going to communicate the way that you want to communicate. Or sometimes I just need space, I need time to cool down, be rational, and other people may go crazy when you give them space. They may be badgering you like, I need to know what's going on because they're getting anxiety over the situation, right? And those are two very different forms of communicating. So my point is there can be a huge disconnect when people have two different ways of communicating. So I would recommend, if you're really close with whoever, that you have that conversation before it gets to that point so you know each other when that point comes. If this person is telling you, I can't talk to you right now, I need space, you know that they're saying that because this is what's best for the situation, not because they want to ignore you, right? So these are the precautions we take to stay connected with each other, to make sure we're communicating properly. Next, we have
spirituality.
And this is actually just as important as our connection to self. I believe I just put it off for last. For the people who are not interested in spirituality, I totally understand. But I am going to say that it makes things so much easier. Why? Everything that happens for a reason. It's happening for your higher good, for your better good. So it just makes things easier when you have to go through drastic changes that you're very uncomfortable with, that are scary. You trust and you know that it's for the better, so it's easier to go with the flow. And it's easier to let go of grudges. And that doesn't mean keeping toxic people in your life, but just letting go of that grudge and being free of those types of emotions, because you start to understand that we're all one, we're all connected, and everyone is just on their own individual journey. So when you look at things that way, it just makes things so much easier, you guys. It just does.
Ooh, look at the sun coming out as I talk about spirituality. Yes. I hope I'm glowing as I talk about this.
So that's all I really have to say about spirituality. I just want to leave you guys with one more thing. So it just kind of hit me that because I didn't have self-love, because I wasn't connected within myself, I couldn't reach those parts of me where I trusted myself, where I had faith in myself, right? And once I started having faith in myself and trusting myself, I started trusting the two just intertwined so seamlessly to me. So I really hope that you guys are open to a spiritual connection and knowing that the universe is out there. The universe got your back. So anyways, you guys, that's everything. I really hope that this was an informative list for you guys to reflect on and see where the disconnect is when it comes to yourself, your relationships, your spiritual connection. Only you know, and only you can fix that through awareness and reflection and giving yourself time and healing and giving yourself love and all that good stuff. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was a great blueprint for you to self-reflect and get to the bottom of why you're feeling disconnected. Leave a comment below on your experience and what you think. If there's anything that I missed, let me know. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time. Stay flying free.